Caitlin Clark and Fever games getting moved to bigger venues on the road is normal at this point in time. We see it happen quite often whenever that Fever show comes to town.
Is Angel Reese really upset that the Chicago Sky moved only Caitlin Clark's games to the bigger United Center? Sure, no one likes feeling like a second priority, but this isn't about picking favorites. It's about the numbers. The Indiana Fever brought in 341,000 fans last season, while the Sky's attendance doesn't come close. Tickets for Clark's games are selling for thousands, while regular games are going for standard prices. This isn't a slight against Reese or anyone else. It's just smart business. Whether she likes it or not, the numbers speak for themselves.
It is interesting considering the opponent and considering the venue. The Fever's games against the Chicago Sky in Chicago, it was announced 2 of them, will be moving to the United Center.
So, you think the Chicago Sky are playing favorites? Let's take a closer look. When Angel Reese expressed shock over her team moving only Caitlin Clark's games to the United Center, she overlooked the bigger picture. The numbers don't lie. This isn't about favoritism. It's about demand. Clark's games are selling out, ticket prices are skyrocketing, and the league is capitalizing on a surge in viewership. It's not personal. It's business.
That's significant in the sense of it will be the first games ever played by WNBA teams in the United Center. The game's on Saturday, June 7th and Sunday, July 27th. One had a date change. But they will be moving to the largest capacity arena in the NBA. More than double, I believe, what the Sky's typical home arena is able to hold.
Look, I get it. On the surface, it feels personal. But professional sports are a business first. And when you follow the money, the real story becomes clear. The Sky's decision wasn't some secret plot to disrespect Angel Reese. It was a numbers game. The accounting team saw the ticket demand for Caitlin Clark's games and knew exactly what to do. When thousands of dollars are on the table and attendance figures are skyrocketing, teams aren't making choices based on feelings. They're making them based on revenue.
Of course, this is a duh for so many reasons. Caitlin Clark and the Fever get this happening no matter who they're playing on the road. But in this instance, Angel Reese and the Chicago Sky in what has been dubbed a rivalry game, at least by the media, it's got a lot of attention around it, and now it's going to have a lot of fans in the house in a 2025 WNBA season that continues to go up.
Here's the reality. The Indiana Fever didn't just have a strong season in terms of attendance. They completely rewrote the record books. A staggering 341,000 fans packed arenas to watch them play, a jaw-dropping 36% increase over the previous all-time high set more than 20 years ago. Let that sink in. A record that stood for 2 decades was absolutely crushed in just 1 season.
Okay, I want y'all to realize that. Well, what I do realize is that as of right now, no other Chicago Sky game have been moved to the United Center.
Chicago Sky, even with Angel Reese on board, averaged around 9,000 fans per game, a solid number by WNBA standards. But when you compare that to the Fever, who are drawing nearly twice that amount, the reasoning behind the Sky's decision becomes obvious. It's not favoritism, it's simple math. When one player is consistently bringing in double the audience, moving those games to a bigger arena isn't personal. It's just smart business.
So, that is kind of the long and short of it. Pretty cool to see, obviously. You've got, this is the actual information from the Fever. United Center, both of those games, as you can see.
The difference between these arenas is massive. The United Center can pack in nearly 21,000 fans, while Wintrust Arena holds only 10,000 at most. That means twice the ticket sales for these high-profile games. When the Sky ran the numbers, they realized they could bring in around $4 million more just by moving 2 games. What business would walk away from that kind of cash? This isn't about playing favorites. It's about making the smartest financial move possible.
But they were saying that an extra $4 million, that's $2 million each game, was a little hard to pass up.
Still think this is about favoritism? Let's talk facts. When Caitlin Clark played in Chicago last season, ticket prices skyrocketed, not just a little, but to insane levels. The secondary market went into a frenzy, with some seats reselling for thousands of dollars. Fans were paying playoff prices for a regular season game. Meanwhile, games featuring Juangal Reese. Prices stayed normal and demand was steady, but nothing close to the Clark effect. This isn't about disrespect. It's about supply, demand, and cold, hard cash.
And it would be good for the league if those games are competitive. And it would be good for the league if Reese thrusts herself into conversations that, put her amongst the actual top players in the game eventually.
This isn't about fueling the Clark versus Reese rivalry that the media loves to push. It's about simple economics. Caitlin Clark's games draw twice the audience and generate twice the revenue. The Sky aren't saying Angel isn't a star, because she absolutely is. But when one player's games consistently sell out, command premium ticket prices, and drive overwhelming demand, any smart business adjusts its strategy. It's not personal. It's just profit.
It's not deep, I guess is what I'm trying to say. This is not a complicated issue or a subject that requires a ton of analysis. Supply and demand is a simple formula, and there is great demand for the Fever and Sky matchups for Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese match.
Market forces don't just impact a single team, they reshape entire leagues. Right now, the WNBA is undergoing a venue revolution that few saw coming, except, ironically, Caitlin Clark herself. While Angel Reese may feel singled out by Chicago's decision, at least 4 other franchises are making the exact same move for the exact same reason. Coincidence? Or is the entire league simply responding to an undeniable financial reality?
And now there is more stuff because they're moving to a bigger venue, a bigger house. Look, Caitlin Clark herself called for it. Remember she asked for the All-Star game in Indy? That happened. Now she asked for the United Center in Chicago. And as a result, not directly because of her, because of everything I just, the Sky and Fever games in Chicago.
Look at what's happening in Washington, D.C. The Mystics, a team that has played in the same venue for years, suddenly decided to relocate their Fever matchups. Not just to a bigger arena, but to an entirely different city. They're moving these games to CFG Bank Arena in Baltimore, a venue with nearly 15,000 seats. Think about that. A professional sports franchise willingly left their home court just to capitalize on the massive demand for Caitlin Clark matchups. If that doesn't prove how big of a business move this is, nothing will.
About it. Remember, the Washington Mystics also moved 2 of their games yesterday, too. I wonder if those were Angel Reese games. Oh, they weren't. They weren't Angel Reese games. They were Indiana Fever games. I don't know what to tell you. I didn't do it.
And they're not alone. The Connecticut Sun took an even bigger leap by completely ditching their traditional home court. Where did they go? TD Garden in Boston, the same arena where the Boston Celtics play. That's not just a venue upgrade. That's like trading in a compact car for a luxury sports model. The capacity difference is massive, and it tells you everything about who these teams expect to bring in the crowds. This isn't about favoritism. It's about seizing an unprecedented business opportunity.
The Caitlin Clark effect is in full effect. Schedules are just dropping. Some tickets are just going on sale, all this kind of stuff. And it seems the juice and the fire is back with fans just that quick.
You might be thinking, well, maybe it's just East Coast teams doing this. Nope. Head west, and you'll see the Las Vegas Aces making the exact same move. This is the defending WNBA champion team, a squad with 3 Olympic gold medalists on their roster. Yet even they felt the need to lock in a bigger arena specifically for their Indiana Fever matchups. And they're not alone. The Atlanta Dream jumped on board too, targeting the exact same Fever games for venue upgrades. At this point, it's impossible to ignore the pattern. Teams aren't just accommodating Clark's star power, they're strategically capitalizing on it.
No, there's not. 4,200 is third to last. This is the same shit that the Atlanta Dream pull, all right? Because they sell out all their home games with a capacity of 3,800 fans, and then they brag about it. And you're like, but that's not any fans? Question mark? By the way, they have to move their games for Caitlin Clark, too.
This isn't some grand conspiracy against Angel Reese. Far from it. It's just smart business. Multiple WNBA teams, each with their own financial teams, accountants, and revenue projections, have all independently reached the exact same conclusion. Caitlin Clark games demand bigger venues. Period. It's not about favoritism. It's not about rivalries. It's about supply, demand, and cold, hard cash.
We can all be so fortunate to be living in a time of such change, of such big, enigmatic, generational talent existing in a time that we are alive. At least that's how I feel.
What's even more fascinating? Caitlin Clark saw this coming before anyone else. Almost a year ago, she casually dropped this statement: "I'm surprised we're not playing at the United Center." At the time, it seemed like just another comment. But now, it looks like a prediction. While everyone else was debating her impact, Clark had already foreseen the venue revolution we're witnessing today.
Yeah, I saw the ticket prices. I guess the only thing is, I'm surprised we're not playing at the United Center. I thought that would have been really good for the game and really good for all the women's basketball fans in Chicago. So maybe there's a conflict of some sort that I don't know about. Obviously, that's a little above my pay grade. But we're excited.
When one WNBA team makes a business decision, you might call it favoritism. But when 5 different franchises make the exact same decision for the exact same games, that's not favoritism. That's undeniable market forces at work. Each of these teams crunched the numbers, saw the demand, and realized that sticking with smaller venues would mean walking away from millions in revenue. Ignoring that kind of financial reality, that's not loyalty. That's just bad business.
That's right. They don't sell out their home games with Angel Reese. Have I said that before? I have. They don't sell out their home games with Angel Reese. I think they averaged around 9,000 fans last year per game.
Those market signals aren't just about seats filled. They reveal a bigger truth about who's actually driving this surge in popularity. When Angel Reese says, "They watch for me too," the numbers tell a very different story. Let's rewind. Before this rookie class arrived, the WNBA was already growing, with a solid 40% increase in viewership from the previous year. Good progress? Sure. Game-changing? Not exactly. But then, Caitlin Clark stepped in, and suddenly, the numbers didn't just rise, they exploded.
I was a fan of the WNBA beforehand, and I do love the WNBA. I do love other teams. I do love other players, but Caitlin Clark playing in Iowa really changed my view on looking at basketball, and what that girl did and what she is doing now is something that I have never seen in the game, and I cannot look away from.
But then, something unprecedented happened. When Caitlin Clark stepped onto WNBA courts, the league's growth didn't just tick up, it skyrocketed by 400%. This isn't just a small boost in numbers. This is a complete transformation of the league's trajectory. The WNBA went from steady progress to record-breaking viewership, ticket sales, and national attention. This isn't luck. This isn't hype. This is market reality.
Well, you made sure you moved that game so you could fit more people in there. That's one thing.
Want to know just how massive one player's impact has been? The WNBA itself openly admitted that over 25% of all league revenue last year can be directly tied to Caitlin Clark alone. Let that sink in, a single row generating a quarter of an entire professional sports league's revenue. That's not just moving the needle, that's rewriting the entire business model.
Supported. A lot of people say that Caitlin Clark moves the needle. That is wrong. She is the needle. She dictates. We all know what she's done on the floor. It's history, right? But off the floor, my goodness, she and the Indiana Fever accounted for 45% of all the broadcast value of the WNBA last season. She accounted also for helping drive the numbers of merchandising up 500%. Of course, her jersey was #1.
And if you're still wondering why these venue changes are happening, consider this striking fact. When the Fever go on the road, they're pulling in 36% more fans than any other team in the entire league. Not 5% more, not 10% more, 36%. That's not a slight edge. It's a massive attendance gap that clearly shows who fans are paying to see.
I'm sure, no doubt, this is the Angel Reese effect. I've got no doubts, no qualms. There's nothing. She even told me herself right here that it's not just one other player. It's because of her